Hey fam. Sorry for the little gyration there at the beginning. So this morning I read Matthew 17 and 18. And I guess out of those two chapters, the thing that really struck me this morning was the very end of chapter 18. Jesus tells the parable of the slave who was forgiven by his master his big debt. And then that slave goes to his slaves. And a little side note here, there are several different types of slaves in the scripture, just as there are, in historic slavery. Sometimes the slaves in scripture are debt bondage, and that's what this is describing. So this guy that was in debt bondage or was working for somebody, owed him a lot of money, was forgiven. And then he went to the people that owed him money and just like beat them and like tried to exact all of that money out of them. Jesus says that just as that slave was forgiven much by his master, so he should have forgiven those who owed him. And then he says, that's the same for us spiritually, that we've been forgiven much, and we have to forgive others. Otherwise, God's not going to forgive us. And it tells us two things. One is, it shows us that when God, when God treats us in certain ways, forgiveness, long-suffering, kindness, mercy, in part, he does that so as an example so that we learn how to treat others that same way. And then the second piece of that is that once we are saved and in God's family and have been renewed in our minds and our hearts, and we've been created new, right? Then we are to act like God. And if we don't, then those are indications that we are not his. And so that's why it says that if we don't forgive others, then he hasn't forgiven us, because we are not acting like his children. So just that's what struck me today. Just that parable with the applications that God forgives us. In this context, he's forgiven us much as an example so that we could know how to forgive others. And sorry for all the noise. I'm on my front porch. It's like, I don't know, 5:30 in the morning, 6 in the morning or something like that. It's like Grand Prix out here. Anyways. And then secondly, that we are to exemplify those same characteristics that God has shown in us, needs to be part of our character and who we are, to prove that we are his.